Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Everything we do is communication. When you think about it, we communicate all the time. We're sending texts, we're sending emails. It could be any type of communication, written communication. Now imagine if that communication was so much more clear, concise, effective. How much better your life might be. We ask for things by writing them. Imagine if you got a quicker response by sending something. Sales, let's say you do sales. You want to sharpen a proposal up. This is all within her wheelhouse. And not only is it the communication for others, but it's also the way we communicate with ourselves. We'll talk about that a little bit deeper as we delve into what she's going on. She's also an author and a speaker, by the way. Marilyn Horowitz joins us on the program today. How are you doing?
I'm great. Very happy to be here. Thank you.
So much to talk about. I'm going to go right there. You are a writer. You have a book, and the book is called Bad Girl Pie. I look at the cover, and I do know what it's about, but I'm not going to go there. I want you to, but I look at the cover and I'm like, this looks like the cover of a late 90s, early 2000 movie in some regards. There was one involving pie, a couple of them. What's this book about?
This book is about a woman who is a ghostwriter of celebrity cookbooks. And when we meet her, she's just finishing up a book. She's missed her deadline. But she is so prolific that she's the hardest working girl and the highest paid in her business. So all good. And then her father dies after a very, very difficult relationship. And she has a dream in which the inner voice comes to her and says, if you don't write your own book, Dorothy, you will become a ghost, not a ghost writer. And this sets her off on a quest. And her best friend and agent say, great, write this book and I'll make you, I owe you this. You've written so many books for me. I'll help you get this one to be a success. But what happens is the agent steals the book and sells it to a YouTube star. So there's Dorothy out for two strikes. And then her old boyfriend shows up, the one who's the tango dancer who broke her heart, and they have a passionate, hopefully well-written reunion. And then she discovers out that he's living in sin with his cleaning lady.
Wow.
Triple whammy, right?
Seriously.
So she has a very bad reaction to it, and she attempts to off herself with a dose of Oxycontin, which fails. And when she wakes up, she starts laughing. She says, "Did I succeed or did I fail?" And that's one of the reasons that she's a great character. She's best, she's loosely based on my childhood best friend. And so she pulls herself together, and her favorite bartender puts her in connection. She's a tango dancer by hobby, with a guy who's just come to America. He's a Argentinian tango dancer, really heavy duty, and he is preparing a very famous movie star. Think Al Pacino for a role in a tango movie. And so she helps him train, and then he wants to write a book about teaching this movie star. They get onto the set in Hollywood, and then the movie star freezes up, and Dorothy is the only person he can dance with, so she actually gets her 15 minutes of fame. So she becomes a momentary movie star, which helps her get her career back on course. And she discovers another book, and she's actually able to kind of find herself.
I was going to ask you if this book was maybe part of you, but then you
all books are part of all authors, no matter what they say.
Isn't that the truth?
What else can there be?
You can speak about what you know best about. You can write what you know best about. What do you know best about? What do I know best about? There's one thing. Us, individually.
I don't think so. I'm going to disagree with you. And that's what I think we don't know ourselves at all. I think that we live with a constructed personality that has nothing to do with who we are. And that's part of what my book is about.
I see where you're going with that. We know what we think is what we are.
There you go. And that's why this is a good book, and I recommend it because it's funny. I mean, I think it's funny. She cracks me up. Good writers will tell you that they almost feel like they're receiving their books, from some other part of themselves, and they're just sitting there typing. It's not like you're making it up in a traditional sense. You receive it. And it comes out as good as you're skillful for receiving the messages. So while Dorothy and I have a lot in common, we are nothing alike.
Hmm.
And obviously, you have to write about what you know, and what you know is who you think you are. You have said something incredibly profound, Steve. That's the whole game. The idea is the trick is to start out by finding out who you think you are and not acknowledging that that's true without fighting with the details. That's the big thing. Then you can say, well, I don't think I want to stay like this. I don't think I want to be in this movie. I took this piece because I had to get through school, and I became a cheerleader because it was convenient. And I, never fought with my first girlfriend because she was, very aggressive. And I didn't do this because of that. And I didn't become an actor because I had kids and I had to go to school. You've heard all these stories, right? And the way to find true happiness is to be not necessarily who you think you are, but to find out who you are, not to have a fight with yourself about it, to say, oh yeah, there's that thing that I do, and then make a decision about what you'd like to keep. That's the difference in what I'm trying to share. So in the book, and again, this is not a book with a message. It's just everything I do is like this. I have a glass of wine with someone, I'm going to tell them the same story, which is be who you are, acknowledge that, and then try to live the life that you were meant to live.
So as we're talking about this, I'm thinking back to my younger years where I wanted to be a syndicated cartoonist. Came very close,
Wow.
very close. Why am I bringing this up? Because there were characters in the comic strip. And as I think back to all the characters, the main character was kind of pretty much me. The other characters, one was called TJ. That was based off of a teacher and a very distinctive look. So I'm hearing from you kind of the same thing where you take from this and you take a little piece of that, maybe a little nuance of somebody there, and a little something there, you mix it all together, call it a recipe, and then that gives you the finished product. Do you kind of feel that that's how it goes?
I think what's more interesting, and this is where I've come to, because I'm a writer and now I'm helping all kinds of people, is that we do the same thing in our life. That's what most of us are, is we're like a book. We're a constructed personality where we get bits from pieces and we cobble it together into someone we think we know.
Okay, that being said, well, we're going deep here today
All right.
in a good way. Do you feel that in many regards, all of us, the parts of our personality, and many therapists, counselors will tell you, we all have parts,
Oh,
not
yeah.
split or multiple personalities,
Aspects.
aspects. We'll put that, multiple personalities over to the side. We're not talking about that. But the aspects, do you feel, Marilyn, that those aspects ultimately in some way come from people that we've known, whether it was in our childhood or moving forward, little pieces here and there?
No, my assessment is much darker than that. My assessment is that the first thing that happens to you is you have to survive, and that you immediately have to make adjustments in your true self in order to survive. Like your mom doesn't want you to stay up and you want to stay up and watch TV and she wants you to go to bed. It's a betrayal of self. So you start off with an act of self-betrayal. All right. The first time you cry and you realize you're not going to get fed, you stop crying. And so what happens is that each time this happens when you're little, it's a traumatic event. And we all know that one of the side effects of traumatic experiences is you can't handle them. So you split off and you create an aspect. And it doesn't mean that the aspect is a result of negative things. Some things are positive, but these aspects are parts of you. It's part of your true identity that is trying to find a way to stay in this awful thing where you have to betray yourself in order to live, but you're trying to stay whole. And that, I think, is a lot of what I believe it is.
Mm.
So, no judgment, but I think we're trying to stay whole and we splinter. And the whole point, and Dorothy does this in the book, she's sort of consciously schizophrenic. She makes jokes about it. She's a writer. And at the end of it, her parts of her that she doesn't like integrate with the parts that she does, and then she kind of transforms. And I think that that's what happens to a lot of us when we, in midlife, when we suddenly realize that we're, it's like that song by the Talking Heads. It's like, is this my life?
Wait a
Is this
minute.
my life?
Well, Marilyn, hold on a second. That song comes up for me all the time. As a matter of fact, many established artists and even new ones admit that they listen to that song once in a lifetime, very often, just for the
Give me
lyrics,
chills.
just for the, I'm getting them too. And that song comes up for me. I kind of live that life too. And what song are we referring to? The lyrics are, you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, with a blah, 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 blah. And then you may say to yourself, well, how did I get here? And it's true. Like when you look at your life now, it's like, how the blank did I get here? How did this all happen? How did these pieces all come together? It is kind of prolific and profound when you look at it that way. Like, how did we even get here? Like, how did this journey all happen? When you
Yes,
take a
but
look at it.
unfortunately, people spend too much time trying to answer that question. But a better question is, I am here.
Mm,
Which part of this is still part of my identity? Jung talks about this. What happens is one day you wake up and you find yourself, you're crying in your car for a few weeks. You don't know what you're crying about, equivalent. And then one day you walk into your house and you're like, who lives here? And you have this moment and my approach to that is that's the best thing that could happen to you.
mm.
But that's a moment when your true identity is feeling strong enough to try to poke its way through. So we're born with this. I mean, the world is a very cruel place. It's very cruel because you can't be yourself if you want to survive. You have to fit in the herd. If you stand out, they're going to kick you out of the cave and you'll starve. And what you give up is inestimable, and that would be okay if you were allowed to choose, but no one tells you, except for me, of course. I mean, already by now I'm pretty blunt. It's like, yeah, okay, so here's this wonderful life you're living, not so much. Okay, you come in, the first thing you do is you give, Kierkegaard, the philosopher, says, we give pieces ourselves away all day long. We lie, we don't tell the truth, we do things we don't want, and then someone asks us for $5 and we get crazy.
Like the little things set you off. Yeah. Wow. Gotta tell you, I know we're going to have a writing coach on today, and she's written a book and she gets right to the point and she's got lots of resources. Marilyn, you run deep in such a wonderful way. It's not just about writing. You've got some just deep understanding of fundamental of what makes us operate mentally. Very refreshing. Lots to learn here.
Well, I also have a way to fix it. That's what makes me.
Well,
that's my thing. In other words, I've been a coach for 25 years and a professor. And the one thing I never did was give someone criticism when I couldn't fix it.
What's your background? I want to hear your journey. Where did this all begin for you?
All right. So the first thing that happened to me is I didn't want to be born, and I stayed an extra 2 weeks in my mother's body, which she didn't like. And then when finally I came out, as she was coming down to the delivery room, I turned around and they couldn't turn me back because there wasn't time. Someone heard that I was going to be a footling breach. Her brother, who was a very well-known stockbroker, called all of his friends who were doctors. And by the time my mother got to the delivery room, there were 150 handsome young men staring at her private parts, watching this 1 in a million delivery. So that was my arrival. I came out left foot first.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, that's true.
Wow. What made you want to get into coaching? What made you want to help people improve their written communication?
I mean, honestly, I think I was a stutterer. I had
Wow.
a terrible, terrible stutter. And we shared a summer house with a lady who was a speech pathologist. And she realized that the problem I was having was with my parents. And then in this place we live with a bunch of people in Long Island, in Shelter Island, you probably know where it is.
Very much so.
Anyway, and so they had this rabbit named Bunny. And I'm a petite person. I was petiter then, and the rabbit and I were the same size. There are pictures of me and the rabbit on its behind feet hugging each other. And what the pathologist got her to do was to get me to tell stories to the rabbit. And that's how I got over my stutter. And of course, we're all storytellers. It just evolved. And then when I went to first grade, my mother, I wrote, I was an artist also, so I made a book of characters because I read and so on. So I go into first grade and I've got this book, and my mother has carefully written the names of the characters. The name of the play was Raven and the Wicked Princess. And I go in, and my teacher, whose name was Miss Rank, I always remember her, says, "This is fantastic, Marilyn. We're going to put this on for the whole school. It'll be an intergrade thing. It's going to be fantastic." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is great." She goes, "So, Marilyn, what's the story?" And my mother didn't tell me I needed a story. So I had to make one up on the spot.
Ooh.
And so the punchline is 20 years later, I'm in therapy, and my therapist told me, goes, "Now I understand you. You've been answering that question since you were 5.
Wow. That probably, do you believe that things were meant to be? They don't just happen by
I don't
accident,
believe in
coincidence.
accidents.
Like the moment where you were challenged to tell that story out of nowhere, and you had to pull that one off. You believe that was, it's time for a test. Time, Marilyn, and now it's your turn. Let's go.
I think so. I mean, again, I'm a storyteller. So nothing is particularly real to me. I mean, if you ask me what I live by, I don't trust the truth, but I trust the facts, right? Because, right. In other words, as soon as you put it to a narrative, the answer is yes, I do. I also think that that on some bigger level, whatever that is, that there's something that it's part of you that you access when you do the practice, which maybe we'll get to in another time. When we do the practice, the sheer act, the somatic act of moving in a certain way connects you with, there's in the middle of your brain, there are 4 glands, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the thymus and hypothalamus. And in Taoist yoga, it's called the crystal palace. It's like the enclave, and it's where the yogis think that your third eye is. It's a particular, but it hasn't. Being me, you got me already. I'm like, where is it? It's like that's me. I'm like, okay, so I have an unconscious. Where is it? Right? I remember reading Freud as a young person. I'm like, where is this unconscious? 20 years later, I go, oh, this is the unconscious. It's your body. Like, oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
But so the answer is yes, I do. But I think that there is this other part of us that I'm going to call a God spark. And whether we're connected with a heavenly deity or collective unconscious, which is what Jung promotes, or whatever it is, we're plugged in to this big universe of and other people. And I do think that, yes, we are put here for reasons. I think we have planets. And I think the problem is that we get perverted from this. And this is why we suddenly wake up in midlife and we're so unhappy. Because no one's ever honored that. In other words, if at least if someone had said to me, well, Marilyn, I know that you want to be a fine artist, but really, you need to be a teacher because you've got to make a living. I think that would have been okay instead of being shamed for being artistic. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And do you believe that that's where the challenge within most of us comes, where we kind of wake up, like the song says, how did I get here? We weren't expecting that wake up. We just, all of a sudden you have that realization. Do you think
Sure.
that like the proverbial sledgehammer against the head, it's that moment where nobody gave us an inkling as to what was happening? By the way, I think in music, I play music on the radio, have been doing it for decades.
So we can talk in soundtracks. Okay, perfect.
Oh my God. Here's the music log for a radio show that I do every single day.
I can't see it, but please
I know
send
it's not, but after we get off here, I will be recording that for broadcast tomorrow. Got another download of a song based on everything that we're talking about. I'm gonna try and remember the lyrics for you. Well, we all have a face that we hide away forever, and we take them out when everyone has gone. And I don't know if you'll know the song when I tell you what it is.
I'm getting chills. Yeah, I get it.
It wasn't a huge hit, but the artist is huge. The song is "The Stranger" by Billy Joel, and it reminds me
wow.
of what we were talking about because, and I'm going to bring up the lyrics now. Some are satin, some are steel, some are silk, and some are leather. They're the faces of the stranger, but we love to try them on. In other words, we're strangers to ourselves. We're just putting these different masks on during the day from time to time. Yeah. And the song actually refers to, coming home to a lover. Like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah. So that's my point. That's why I created this method, because I solve the problem. I know how to get you to be in your true identity right away and stay there.
This is wonderful. And I really mean this, Marilyn. I never had any idea we're going down this road. Well, how did I get here? In that you help people perfect their written communication, but it's not just about a writing system. It's about
It's not.
understanding who you are and literally, and I really mean this literally, how you got here.
Yes.
Like, it's pretty amazing. And I've talked to writing coaches before, all good. Uh, you're not them. You're very different in terms of how deep you go, which is amazing, truly amazing.
That part of the reason that I'm doing this is I had an experience. I always thought I was just a teacher. I mean, part of the reason I was so successful, uh, and I am successful, is I help people with lifestyle things. Like I'm working with a novelist now who's writing an incredible book. He's an estate lawyer. He has a huge practice, and he's in his early 60s. He's got a wife, all the usual nonsense. And he's just hungry to do this before he, goes into the other world. And so what I'm helping him to do is he wrote a little, he's written articles on estate planning. He's got a very unique way of doing it. And so I'm helping him organize that as a book so that he can use that to get out of his practice.
Wow.
So he can go off and, live in the woods, or he has a house in Florida or something. So he can live his dream before he gets too old to have it. Meanwhile, he works with me and he's up on my website. He says, before I started doing Word of the Day, I wasn't writing. Now I do the Word of the Day every day. I've written 47,000 words in 3 months.
Wow. So who would consider you somebody that either maybe these are all, hypotheticals, somebody who wants to write a book, somebody that wants to communicate better, somebody that really just wants to understand how they can up their game. They could be a C-suite executive, but they want to express themselves
Yep.
in a better way. All of the above would be you?
You are helping me manifest my dream in this conversation, because the answer is what this thing that I have, the Beyond Happiness Method of Word of the Day, it's a foundational practice. One of my students was a very troubled person. She was a devout Catholic. And you do the hug the first thing when you wake up. And she said, well, is it okay if I do that before I pray? And I said, if you don't do it, you don't know who's praying.
Wow.
But there's a real you. There really is a real you. And you can access it just by doing this technique. And then you're centered.
We're almost out of time. There's so much here to talk about. Like, I could keep going. This is finding yourself, centering yourself, living in the moment. I'm believing that all of these are kind of foundational for what you offer and help somebody as you help somebody connect with themselves. Would you say that's in the wheelhouse?
Yeah. The difference is that people ask this question, and I actually solve the problem, because that's the kind of person I am. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Where's the unconscious? Where's my third eye? You know,
These are all
I,
questions I ask all the time.
yeah, but I have answers. And they're answers that everybody recognizes as the truth. Your third eye is in here between these four glands, right? The unconscious is the body.
See, I never heard that described before, that the unconscious is the body. I just think it's the mind. However, in my journey, as I'm learning that everything that we've experienced, the traumas from our past, and they could be small, large, whatever they may be. You could have been picked on at the playground when you're 7 years old. That's a trauma. It is in your body. It's in the cellular level. The body doesn't forget. It's somewhere, somehow, it's in there. Is that what you're referring to when you talk about the subconscious?
Yes. And the idea is again, 20 seconds of history. My mother was a philosophy professor, and had a huge wall of books. And I was a late reader. So when I started to read, I never stopped. So I read down the shelves when I was way too young. So I started up with the pornography on the top, and I got down to Wittgenstein at the bottom, and Freud and Jung, and I read all these things. And I said to my mother, I said, Mom, these people are all talking about thinking, and they're not answering any questions. They just want to talk about having the problem. Like, what is this? And I got the usual blah, blah answer. But for me, it was like, no. Freud said you can't get to your unconscious unless you're sleeping. You have to get through dreams. I'm like, no, I'm going to find a way to do it when I'm awake. So it's my nature, and this technique gets you to that place, which you can't get to unless you're asleep for most people, while you're awake, on demand, connects you with yourself. And the method is that you do it often enough so that you're your biological part of you, which is keeping you in the fake personality, so your survival goes, wait a second, my job is to keep this body alive. And I never knew this before, but when this annoying personality is actually happy, the body is much healthier. Maybe I've got to support this attempt to be happy as opposed to thwarting it, which is what the biological self does, because change is dangerous. Right? Change could mean suddenly the bear comes and tries to kill you. Change is not something that your biological nature wants you
Well,
to
oh
do.
no, we all resist change because it's not safe in our minds and it's not comfortable.
So my idea is let's convince the part of us that thinks it's unsafe that it's safe.
Well, in my journey, it has been hypnotherapy to
Oh, fantastic.
access the subconscious, but you can do that without hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, there's so much we need to talk about, but before we even get into any of that, you have shall we call it an offering for your book, right? Tell us about
Yes,
that.
I do. So the offering with the book is that whenever you're listening to this podcast, it was on August 1st, and it's on Amazon, hardcover and in Kindle. And I'm a struggling writer, even though I've written 8 or 9 books. And I am going to ask you to please spend $22 or $8. I think it's $8 for the Kindle. Please buy my book. Please post a review. And if you will send me a proof of purchase, it's that we will send you a piece of pie. We really will.
I thought you were joking about that. Again, the book is
No.
called Bad Girl Pie. I thought you were kidding, but no, you're not. And I think that's a very fair offer. Because
Or we'll send you a gift certificate to Dunkin' Donuts so you can go buy the pie. You know, I mean,
whatever. It's funny
you know,
when I grew up.
I need help here. You know.
When I grew up, I love those little Hostess pies. I'm not talking about
I
that.
know.
That's the
I can
one,
see.
but
I saw them in your mind that that they're wrapping paper with the blue writing.
yes,
I can
yes.
smell them. That's
I could, yes.
Oh,
You're amazing at what you do. You have this whole system that you've developed to help us become a better writer. But again, this is not just about being a better writer, not just about expressing yourself better. This is about connecting with yourself and moving your life forward in many different ways. Fascinating. What's the best way to find you, Marilyn?
Let's see. Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I have my website is marilynhorowitz.com. And if you want to come to one of the webinars, you can find them through Eventbrite or on the website. We also have a Substack if you like reading. And yeah, that's it.
So, final question here. Would you help somebody, let's say that maybe they're thinking about writing a book, maybe they're thinking about a screenplay, maybe there's something floating around out there. Can you help them more effectively write that type of thing? Or let's say it's something else. Let's say they're struggling with a major proposal or something major in their life in terms of writing.
It makes no difference. It makes no difference. The reason you're not able to write it is because you have the wrong part of yourself writing it.
Say that again. You've what?
You have the wrong part of yourself trying to write it. Right? And we have this little thing in our brain. It's an actual place in our brain. It's called the fibula. And it's this little place that doesn't want you to fail, so it prevents you from trying. It shuts you down.
Yep.
Nothing to do with writer's block. All this nonsense. It's a bunch of marketing nonsense.
Yep.
Not right, because your biological self is afraid of change, and it's easy to fix once you take it on the level. So the answer is, it doesn't matter what you're writing. If you're a person who writes proposals, then that's your passion.
Beautiful.
What matters is that we're with your passion. So that's part of the reason I hope to, in these podcasts, is to get people who do other things like business or whatever they want to talk to me and see if they can implement this.
And what you just said, the fear of failure, it's huge. It's huge.
But what if it's not your fault? What if it's not emotional? What if you don't need therapy?
Right.
What if you need to acknowledge that it's your part of yourself protecting another part of yourself that just has gone a little haywire?
Absolutely. And where does it all come from? Our past, could be childhood. Many believe that's most of it. And it's in that thing called the subconscious. And the fear of failure isn't just producing something and having somebody see it, look at it, and say, well, this is crap. I love how you use that word on your website a lot. Yeah, but it's also, you feel like you're failing yourself, that you didn't hit.
You are. That now, wait, let me say, this is the most important thing. You have hit the nail on the head. You are. We're all being told there's nothing wrong with you. That's not true. We are betraying ourselves. We are doing something wrong. That's why I can fix it, because I know what it is. That all this is all BS. And it's not that these modalities like therapy and stuff don't help, but you're not doing them at the right time. You have to start with this practice I've developed and get real. And then you go in and you fix all the trauma and whatever, but you're coming from the true self. No other way around it.
Or if you want, I believe the true self is this thing called your heart.
Oh, yes.
It's not just the thing that pumps blood. It's the center of everything. It's probably more important than your brain. You know, as many more study it, they say that your heart has a couple of brains around it. If you want to, get into physiology. We're out of time. We can't go there, but so much to talk about next time we get together. I love what you do. Got to tell you. And again, your website, it's your name, right? Your website?
MarilynHorowitz.com, yeah.
Marilyn, thank you for today. Congratulations on the book in advance, which
thank you.
comes out tomorrow. And looking forward next time we get together.
And the last thing I'm going to say is that the people who like this book most are not women, they're guys. That's what you go look. Guys love this book. I don't know. I'm going to tell you that because she's a really interesting character. So
I'm intrigued and got to dig into that.
And you're scared then.
Yep, I appreciate it. Thanks for being here today.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.